My name's Ed Piskor,
I'm Jim Rugg.
and what would a Halloween-themed month on Cartoonist Kayfabe be without doing a little EC coverage? This time, we're going to go with the origins of the Crypt-Keeper.
It's a great place to start.
Is the gimmick, man. But before, we've got some business.
Octobriana, 1976. My latest comic, first blacklight comic in glorious fluorescent color, is available now everywhere, wherever you buy your comics, and it's selling fast. So if you want one of these, scoop it up soon. And if you read your comics on your iPad through Comixology, it's now available there, along with the 350-page making of process zine. So you can get this anywhere you get your comics now.
Super cool, man. Patreon.com/Ed Piskor is where I'm serializing my Red Room comics at this very moment. Issue 1 is up there right now in total, and issue 2 begins the very next week. Every Tuesday, new strips are available. $3 will get you the archive. Look at this output so far, man.
That's a good shot.
That's my COVID output. I figured we're looking at original art, so show a little bit off. This is one of the latest pieces I did. 140 pages done so far. Print edition will see the light of day in 2021. And voila, we're gonna blow the spot, man. You're looking at Crypt-Keeper's mommy and daddy right here, Enoch and the Mummy.
What a beautiful cover this is. I can't believe how much he can put in a cover, and it's consistent. All these EC covers are sort of like this, packed with detail. You lose so much in the printed comics, Ed.
And he is Jack Davis.
Yes.
Is the artist that we're looking at. Great use of whiteout. Probably hitting it with the razor, perhaps. Maybe that's whiteout, man. But yeah, textures. Like, this is your standard Gladstone comic from the 90s, which was on the newsstand in 1990 alongside Marvel and DC Comics. I scooped these up every time they came out, man. 1990, 8 years old.
Yeah. And again, what you want to look at in the artist edition is that detail, because you can see where this cross-hatching that's so beautiful in the black and white, it just, it bleeds out.
Yeah.
Whenever it's printed, that just becomes black, unfortunately. It's incredible to see these. The variation in line weight you can really appreciate in the artist edition size, and it's 2-up.
Right.
It's not always the way the original art is done. It's so common for it to be 1.5 times bigger, which would make it, this size. The 2-up really is glorious.
When they shrink it down, perhaps because of the print technology at the time, they had to blow out this screen. You see no evidence of it here at all, and it looks great at this size, but I can imagine, like, on that shitty old paper, when you get these fine dots reduced, you might have some trouble.
Davis is such a fun artist, too. I associate his style with Big Feet and kind of cartoony, but he's amazing at things like these horror comics, the war comics, anything that really has that darker edge, he excels.
Yeah, he really does, man. He could do a good bumpkin, and whenever these guys do their EC self-portraits and stuff, he always gives himself like a Southern Rebel hat and like a piece of wheat sticking out of his mouth, and everybody's kind of hillbilly-ish. I like his hands. He's like one of the only artists that have this bone. He loves drawing that bone there. Should we get to the story?
Yeah, man. Let's dig into it. Let me hold on to the comic.
Lower Berth.
Careful you don't knock yourself out turning these pages.
I know, as Neil Gaiman would say, it's a book big enough to stun a burglar. All right, man. Great set of pages we're going to be looking at, because the marginalia is some added fun to the whole process, man. Check this out, dude. The price is written in pencil. 15 G's for this sucker.
Probably a steal. The origin of the Crypt-Keeper.
Right.
I mean, who knows what this is worth now or when that would have been sold.
Little paste-up lettering on the birth. I bet he spelt it like a baby birth, and they were like, nah, dude, you can't give up the ending, man. Birth, like, space. Some pen work, you would say, for that right there? It's very thin.
Yeah, I don't know. It's possible. I just don't know. He's so deft with the brush that it wouldn't surprise me if any of these marks are brush. And for speed purposes, probably brush is a little bit faster. I love the Tales from the Crypt signage in the background, really nailing home this origin and where this is coming from.
Yeah, little dry brush technique, and he has fun with the splashes. The lighting on his eyelids are something I pay attention to a lot too. The very bold top, and he abides by his light sources. You know, he never deviates from it, and it's something that just adds a lot of texture. Look at all the shading on the actual eyeball.
Just going to comment on that. That's a bold move, and something I always, from studying eyes, you'll see like good eyes drawn that way. Extreme foreground of the hand too, with the big pronounced knuckles, fingernails. I mean, that is just gnarly.
Yeah.
That wrinkled up big knuckle.
So you see this and it's like, oh man, that could be super dark. Some of those lines just drop out when it actually sees print. And look at the color and just the shitty old printing. You lose all of this. The Leroy lettering that was actually applied using an arcane little tool, man. I have one of those, man. We'll do a video someday.
And typically, the Leroy lettering applied on these pages before they'd be handed to Jack Davis. So you would get them with the lettering in place, the panel borders ruled, and then it's like fill up these spaces. Mm-hmm. This is what's left to the artist.
There would be no traditional script to the Al Feldstein written EC comics, so the captions are really for the artist. You can read these stories without reading those.
It's really amazing to compare the art and what they're filling, because a lot of these panels, they're 50-50 text and art. They're maybe 60-40 text and art. Very typical of the EC stories, but you get to see, like, it looks like magic, the drawings. You know, the full range of value, the full textures. It's really stunning on these original pages to see it. And again, next to the block of text that's a certain gray, a certain kind of value of consistent space. And then you see how they're interpreting the space that's up to Jack Davis.
He's very good at separating foreground, middle ground, background in his ink illustration, and he does these very good fuzzy kind of soft focus background characters there. He'll employ a bold brush for characters up front and get to finer lines for stuff in the background. Look at that great mummy head with this is the texture. When people are doing their Jack Davis riff, the little curlicue, that's his invention.
I'm ready for this to be like the thumbnail for this episode because it's so good. I want to see it at like full screen.
Right.
Incredible the amount of drawing that's in that face.
Yeah.
Even at this blown up size, I feel like we miss a lot of it. It's so dense.
And when you see something like this, man, and you see all the text and just imagine blank white panels, this is where you get your Wallywood 22 panels that always work, man, because you gotta try to make, this amount of space work.
It's real interesting to think about it that way. Like this reaction shot. It's such a common, like a filmmaking trope, but you see it applied in these comics, and there's probably several of those, like the reason that you can have the Wallywood 22 panels for that reason. But I mean, this is incredible. It's like, hey, Jack Davis, I mean, this is what the kids are eating up, right? Like, show us the partially unwrapped mummy face. Let me get my brushes out. Let me see what I can come up with.
And he's such a sick fucker. Puts a smile on it.
Yeah, that's really great. The sunken in, like, the eye sockets that are sort of not there. The eyes are kind of rotted out. The nose rotted away. That's amazing, the rotting of the nose. Just crawling up into the skull nasal cavity.
Making notes, man, and he pulls his guy straight out of Central Casting.
Yeah, I was going to comment. This guy is awesome. In every panel that we see him in, the big mustache, he shows up the local guy that's like, I think I have something that might help your show.
Yeah. And man, this is from a bygone time, from a place that you and I just don't know about, man.
These dudes could be wrestling managers too, by the way. So you would have your show, you'd have your mummy that we're going to show off. Here's the Egyptologist to tell you about it.
Right. He went up to the Ozarks to go help a lady whose son was having some trouble. By the time he got there, the boy was dead, and the boy had two heads. Enoch.
Look at that panel for like extreme foreground, and again the action reaction, two shot.
Good acting here, man, but it's cartoony acting. Mm-hmm. Even here, just like you feel the speed. I don't think Mad Magazine. Well, no, if it's Tales from the Crypt 33, Mad Magazine, Mad the comic was going on, but I mean it's comedic artwork, man. He's not taking it so seriously.
Imagine this panel where it's like, that's him, and the guy's gulp. What do you draw for that?
You draw this little bumpkin floating around in formaldehyde, staring up at you.
And then this is the invitation. You've got this thing in your possession. Join our road show.
Great lighting, man. And then just this hint of background. That's all you need. Great tree texture here. Davis is really great too, like the way he goes along the contour of the shapes that he's drawing. Like he's thinking about the volume of all these shapes that he's trying to make the face, or the drapery going along with the cone of the arm.
Yeah, for sure. And also the kind of the volume.
Yeah.
You mentioned the light source early on and how consistent he is. You see it here with the forms, the cheekbone being more pronounced. Yeah, man, that thing is twisted.
The way the crowd goes off in a soft focus, like very, very subtly. That's awesome.
Yeah, and knowing these guys, the Jack Davises, the Bill Elder, I bet these crowds, if you look closely, you'll find some fun stuff scattered throughout those.
Right.
They can't help themselves. They're drawing characters in the margins. Like, you're gonna have every chance you get. And here we go, man. What's happening in this panel? It looks like Enoch's looking over to the side there,
Love at first sight.
gazing at each other in their tent.
Yeah, you see something like this and you go, maybe Frederick Wortham was onto something.
Certainly had fuel for his book.
It's so funny. I keep like,
This is great. The sense of weight of like floating in liquid. That's the first time we see like the bottom half of that character, and it creates that weightless, or at least in liquid floating sense. I always notice those little details as something to apply to your own work. Like, how do you, weight is a big one. When they first started doing all the 3D animation, I feel like that was the thing that they didn't get for a while, and it would always feel really hollow the way characters would move around because of the lack of weight. And one of the things I appreciate with like a Jack Kirby, it always feels like there's a mass involved.
So day in, day out, man, Enoch and Myrna the Mummy, they gotta see one another from afar while crowds are gazing at him. And this poor bastard, he gets no dignity, man, because he's butt-ass naked.
Yeah, he has to look away probably every now and then to avoid any kind of embarrassment. The bloated body with the staring pairs of eyes. Swayed in the formaldehyde. Wow.
And here we go, man.
Beautiful.
We're about to consummate the relationship.
Yeah, that's a great page. Two great panels there. Characters moving towards one another.
The characters, they disappear, and the bumpkin and the Egyptologist are both blaming one another because these were the main attractions, and now both are gone. But there are some footsteps, and the mummy and mummy wrap.
Mummy wrappings and formaldehyde drops. Follow the trail.
Some of that might not. Let's get that Octobriana black light on some of these formaldehyde drops and see if it's really formaldehyde, or if we're going to be making some three-headed babies.
I love the good lords. Justice of the peace. Good lord.
To the justice of the peace, man.
Yeah, this is such a funny EC story, and it totally fits all what you expect out of EC. Like, how do you make this stuff work?
Every couple of issues, they will do one. Like they'll do one where it's Feldstein and Gaines as characters introducing the thing. Man, like they never took this stuff that seriously, and that's the charm of it.
It really is. Yeah, I think we could learn a lot from that today.
But it's based on artists, so like a Ghastly Graham Ingalls, different story. Reed Crandall, different story.
So they're asking the Justice of the Peace, "What's up, man? Didn't you see something strange about them?" Nope, can't see anything. I'm blind.
But they stink. They smell kind of funny. They smelled mighty bad.
They must have been drinking. Yeah, the full figures. You don't see a ton of full figures. Really fun. The three guys walking down the road.
Yeah, and it's just like great frame around our characters.
It's funny. This is almost a math equation. Like sometimes you'll hear actors and it's like you just read the lines. that's what this panel is. It looks great because it's Jack Davis reading the lines, but it really is like, what's the checklist of what we need here? These dudes stumbling down the road and seeing the Justice of the Peace sign. The trail leads to the Justice of the Peace.
And it's instructive, man, because I would feel like, well, I need to put a whole background in there. No, you don't. Why?
Yeah, you'd want to do some kind of weird Dutch angle or something dramatic. It's like, nah, there's a lot of information to convey here. Just make it readable.
Look at that fat brush, man. All right. Spoilers on a 70-year-old comic. and even Crypt-Keeper's like, don't look. Don't spoil it. Trust me. More Jack Davis pumpkins, man. That's what he brings to the table. And our guy, man, the Crypt-Keeper is born.
This character's completely gone from pop culture now.
Right.
You know, that very rural,
Gabby Hayes.
living in the mountains, living off the grid, just gone.
But they definitely still exist.
Yeah.
I accidentally
Go on my family reunion.
I accidentally drove down a cul-de-sac and some guy came out and he put his fingers up like this. There are 3 signs that said no outlet.
Jeez.
And he was a real fucking bumpkin.
You have one of those hats, top's like breaking over from decades of wearing it.
With like real skin
Boy,
to deer himself.
speaking of hats, man, this whole story, you could just review this as a hat showcase.
Right.
All different hats, because characters have to be unique character designs. How many hats can you come up with, Jack?
Right. Yeah, they all fit the characters perfectly. Though I am curious, like, were there furry top hats? Like, what is that? I'm sure there were. Like, you wouldn't have drawn it if there wasn't, but that's lost to pop culture.
Yeah, I wonder if that one's just one that maybe should have been retired and replaced.
I love his smoky texture. And, you know, it's such a tease, right? Because we just covered, like, one really cool story. And you want to go right to the next, but we won't this time. Because we'll do an independent Jack Davis Artist Edition video at some point.
Yeah, it's going to take all my strength to not shut this camera off and just keep looking at this book.
I think we met our challenge. Covered this Jack Davis story. I mean, the origins of the Crypt-Keeper.
Pretty cool. What a weird story.
Yeah, Tales from the Crypt 33 for those at home, and it's been reprinted in many
Lots of places you can find
many forms, man. But there it is. That's how it was. Some Jack Davis artwork, and we got to get out of here, draw our own comics. Kayfabers, like, follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell. We'll notify you when the next videos are available. Octobrion is in stores now. It's also up there on Comixology. Get it while it's hot. Patreon.com/EdPiscor is where I'm serializing my Red Room comics. $3 will get you the archive, and issue 1 is up there as we speak.
Subscribe to the Cartoonist Kayfabe e-newsletter at the links below this video to keep up with everything we're doing. You can find Cartoonist Kayfabe t-shirts and merchandise at the links below this video.
Jim, we covered this comic for the channel, for the video, so we're going to split and look at the rest of the Jack Davis Artist Edition on our own, man. Give them the marching orders, dude.
Read more comics.